Hello everyone, what is going on? It's BradPhusion here and welcome back to Behind the Shipyard, where today we'll be taking a look at my latest creations, which in today's video is going to be the Amari Series ships, which if you haven't seen the cinematic for, I do highly recommend watching it either by clicking the video that you see on screen right now or by clicking a link that you see in the description down below. That being said though, I'm actually really proud of the cinematic. The video had a lot more effort in it than I've ever really put into any video ever, and it actually challenged me in quite a few ways, much like these ships in their creation had challenged me as well, because I put them a little differently to how I would normally build ships. Anyway, I'm speaking really fast right now because Space Engineers has been crashing on me quite constantly since the latest update, by crashing every 20 to 15 minutes I should say. 15 to 20 is an easy way of saying that. But anyway, to move on from that though, these ships are interesting for me because, again, as I said, these ships were created a lot differently to how I would normally create ships. These ships are unique in such a way that they are so different from what I'm normally used to that I actually really liked how these turned out. Now, the first thing that you will obviously notice, the first different thing is that they are vertical. Now, I've never built vertical ships before, and this was actually quite a challenge to come up with a ship that looked really nice while still maintaining its verticality. And I think that this turned out rather nicely. So right now we are looking at the Amari Coda, which is the kind of like the baseline variant, as the ships come in variants depending on the functionality that they have. They're just colored in such a way so I can easily identify which ones are which. And the Coda here is the basic variant that has nothing really too special going for it. It's simply just a interplanetary transportation ship, or personal transportation ship I should say. It's not really capable of transporting anything else unless you feel like sticking a few seats on them. Anyway, I'll give the ship a bit of a fly in just a moment, but I do want to show you guys the other ones here and talk about these as well. So, over here you have the Amari Series, which is the racing variant type of ship, which is kind of nice to look at. It is a lot faster than the other ones in terms of its acceleration and hovering capabilities, but we'll get to that as well. Then you have the Nova, which is the combat / military type vessel, maybe bounty hunting if you really want to do it like that. And then you have the Amari Tau, which is the cargo transportation ship, which I kind of like how this one turned out, especially the coloring. But anyway, let's get inside the Coda here, and let's take this for a quick flight, as I want to show you guys the predecessor to these ships, the one that kind of led me to making all of these. So if we just drop down right now, or fly out like you would do from these docks. I do like how the docks turned out, and I will point out that I do love how the flame turned out on this as well. There is a mod that I've installed that isn't actually on the ships themselves, but it changes the flame color as well, and that's called the Thrust Reverser mod, which you can find in the description down below, and that's used to it adds a block. I showed this off in my last Behind the Shipyard video as well, but I'm not actually using them on the ships, it's just enabled in the world, which again changes the thrust colors, which makes it look really nice. The orange glow is just perfect, and I wish that the game had this orange glow for default, because I think this suits a lot more than just the grey color, which I find is a little hideous. But anyway, we're going to fly this around here, and they do fly rather well, and I'm actually quite happy with how these turned out, especially when you can actually turn off the power. And I'll show this to you right now. I'll leave the HUD on so you guys can see the acceleration and so on as you guys want. So if we accelerate here and I turn off the power, this ship will actually maintain, okay, maybe not maintain, but it will still glide for quite a while. It's actually quite surprising with how well and how effective these wings are on the ship, despite not really being in much use, considering a lot of the wings are vertical. Now, there are a few wings obviously on the side there that I'm guessing is what's helping out with a little bit of hovering here. But let's go back over to the other ship over here, the predecessor in a sense, which I do have on a secondary dock that's on the side of the station. So we fly back over here. Also, this ship is equipped with Gatling guns, as you can see, maybe not see, on the underside there, as all of these ships are minus the Zaru, which is the racing one, which obviously I don't think it'd be that nice to have a racing ship that has guns on it, because that might be a bit unfair for the other guys. So we come over here, we're going to slow down using the hydrogen to slow us down a little bit quicker. Now this dock isn't specifically made for these ships, so we're just going to kind of park it out here and get out for a moment. Now the ship you see here, I don't know if a lot of you guys have seen the videos that I put up the other day, which was the delivery video and then the one with the pistons breaking. They're kind of small little, maybe funny videos. Some people find them funny, some people don't. I like them because they're just kind of stupid funny, but that's just me. In that video I'm showing off a freighter, which is a gigantic delivery ship that can deliver down to planets using smaller ships, and this was meant to be one of those, as I put a merge block on the back, and I wanted a ship that, again, could fly through space and could fly down to a planet, deliver a cargo, and then fly back up to the ship and obviously return everything like such. So this is how this turned out, and it's not done obviously, I just built a basic framework, and I kind of like how this turned out, but I thought to myself, what would it look if it was vertical? And that's when I got the idea to rotate the cockpit, but most of the internals here are pretty much identical. So you guys can see that it has the conveyor system going all the way around a large reactor in here, which is the main source of power. But the reason for all of the conveyors is not only for connecting the hydrogen, but mostly for the whole idea of, if I wanted to add something to the ship, I could quite easily add it because it has the support for it. So even though you can't quite see the conveyors on the other ships over there because of the armor, it does have it in all directions in case it's actually needed, which comes in handy especially for the Nova and for the Tau if you really wanted that connected, which I didn't do, but I'll explain that in a moment as well. But there's the predecessor in such a way. This is called the Dragonfly. I never really finished it obviously, but it is what it is. I do have a version that I did finish, which I can spawn in, which is called the Amari Reno, or the... I don't know why I called it that. I don't know why I called any of these ships the way that they're names. But this is basically me converting the ship back to being horizontal again in such a way. So if I put this here, you guys can see, well, I'm hoping it didn't break then, because damage is turned on, but this is the ship if I made it into a horizontal again. This was never uploaded, this was never really kind of complete, but that's how it looks. It doesn't look too bad, you know, it's kind of what it is. This does have 2 more Gatling guns. It does have 1 hovering thruster, 2 hovering, 2 acceleration, and 2 hydrogens. Very similar to the Coda, just again, horizontal instead of vertical. But moving back over here, we'll move on to the next aspect, which is going to be the Tau. But just a quick moment here before moving on to the 2 more specialized variants. So the Tau is rather special because it is a ship that I built at the last second. When I did the edited video and I was uploading it, I had the idea of, because I kind of wanted to add just a 4th ship to it. I wanted a ship that kind of fit a role that none of the others could quite do, and that idea came to me when I thought of transporting cargo, which is what the ship does, as you can see by the 2 medium containers on the side here. Now this does increase the weight of it, as it doesn't have any more hovering capabilities over the Coda, so it is a little bit heavier in that regard, but it does have 2 containers here, so it can carry quite a bit more than any of the other ships here. Now these aren't connected to the main frame, mostly because the larger components wouldn't be able to transfer through it anyway. Maybe in creative obviously can't do that, but in survival you can't transfer larger components through a smaller conveyor, unless I redid the whole back design here to support that, which I honestly didn't really feel like doing because I wanted to keep it to the same frame that we were kind of in. Also, that would have meant I would have had to maybe replace the larger reactor or maybe move that around, which again I didn't really want to do. But the one thing I do like about the ship is the color. Now I've never really used green before either, which I quite like how that turned out. Also, speaking of another factor that went into all of these ships here that I've never played around with before, would have to be hydrogen. Because I've never really used hydrogen before. I haven't used it in any of my builds ever since it came out, which is around the time Planets came out. And I've never really... I don't like the size of the tanks. That's the one thing that gets me, because it's so massive and so bulky, it was always a deterrent to try using it in any of my builds. But when it came to these ships, because I wanted them to be interplanetary, I decided to utilize them in such a way where they kind of fit in with the design. They're not too over chunky, they're not too out of the way or anything like that. It actually kind of blends in really nicely. So I'm actually quite happy with how the hydrogen turned out on these ships. Now, in survival, this probably wouldn't work so well, but when it comes to space travel, especially when the hydrogen runs out so quickly, but that might be the one downside to these ships. Anyway, moving on now, we're going to move on to the Zaru over here, because this ship is a bit interesting in how it functions and works compared to the others. So the Zaru here has extra thrusters, which I explained a little bit before in this video. It has 2 extra acceleration thrusters and 2 extra hovering thrusters, making it quite capable. Because when it comes to racing, the main thrust directions you're really going to be caring about is going to be forward and upwards, mostly upwards to keep hovering capabilities, because if you have a weak upwards thrust, I notice when it comes to racing or trying to be good at the environment, or trying to navigate the environment in such a way where you're quite agile, having low hovering thruster capability is actually a pretty big deterrent, making you able to crash into the environment a lot easier. So having the 2 hovering thrusters here quite adds to its flying capabilities, and I will show this off to you right now by flying down like that. And again, the orange thrusters just suit so well. So in the video, I actually showed this off as like a pirate type. It wasn't really a pirate vessel, it was a guy that was a pirate who stole the ship. But this was mostly, again, done for racing, and as you guys can see, we're already up to the max speed limit on this world, which is 260. And again, these ships do quite handle extremely well, especially when it comes to turning side to side. I think that mostly has to come down to the wings, because they don't really lose too much speed when they do that either. And again, the drifting capabilities. Even if I turn this to the side here, and like turn this off for example, the wings actually help quite considerably when it comes to the gliding. I mean, obviously this is a bit of a weird way to fly them, but I'm just saying that this is an option if you really, really wanted to do that. But anyway, we're going to turn this on here and fly back around. That's also where the ship died, down there. Rather a sad tale, but nonetheless, let's turn around here. Now, every ship is equipped with a camera and a connector. Obviously, they're connected for docking into stations, even though you don't really need to use it. I haven't used it on the station because for whatever reason, when I dock them in, they start hovering upwards after a while. It's a really weird thing, and I don't know why it keeps doing that, but it does it anyway. So if I press 3 right now, you guys can see the camera right above the connector there. It's very handy for when it comes to docking into stations and such. But we're not going to dock this in because, well, I'm going to crash it into the station because that would look kind of cool. At least I would think so anyway. I mean, that's just me, but I like crashing stuff into stuff anyway because it's just fun, you know? But anyway, let's turn on the hydrogen on. Let's get this thing going over here. Yeah, there we go. Hydrogen is on, thrusting full speed, dampeners off, and I'm going to get out and slow myself down, and it's going to crash. At full speed, oh my god, that actually might tumble down onto the ships. No, don't hit the Nova, please. I need a video on that still. And we're good, okay. So everything is... The wings do handle really weird when it comes to flying around, because look at that thing flipping the weird, it's kind of like a leaf. Kind of cool, and that did leave a pretty big dent in that rock. Anyway, let's go down and let's have a look at the Nova, which is the last ship, which is probably my favorite, especially when it comes to military type vessels anyway. So actually, before I move on to the Nova, I do want to ask you guys something really quickly about the Zero. So I will spawn it in right now, just so you guys can see it. If I spawn it in like so, I'm going to ask you guys a question, and this question's a bit of a weird one, but as you guys have seen with the internals of the other ships, these only have one large reactor as their main power source. There's no other power sources inside the ships, just the one large reactor. However, for the Zero, to counteract the fact that it has two... Okay, here's the raising thing. I don't know why it does that. It just does it randomly. It's so weird. So now all the ships have rose by like a little bit. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, to counteract the fact that this has 2 more acceleration thrusters and 2 more hovering thrusters, I needed a lot more power. So inside the ship, I put in quite a few small reactors. Now I want you to guess how many small reactors I managed to fit inside this frame here. Now note that it is the exact same size as the others. There's no change in its frame at all, minus the internals here. So try and guess how many small reactors this has. Did you take a guess? 17. Or actually, no, 16, sorry. 16. I don't know why I said 17. I thought maybe I had one a little bit off-centered here. But no, it has 16 small reactors crammed inside there. It's actually kind of surprising how much you can do inside the ship here. And if I actually remove some of the blocks, you can actually see the internals here. Now, this might make the ship go a little bit wonky, but I think it'll be fine nonetheless anyway. We can pretty much get rid of everything that's in the way. Anyways, I think maybe not the hovering thrusters, but we should be okay nonetheless. And here you can see the... There we go, that was going a little bit upwards again. I think they all just moved up again. Yeah, they did. I still don't know why they do that. But anyway, if we get rid of this here, you guys can see all these small reactors throughout the ship here. Note this is only one side that we're looking at. You can still see the other side over here as well. So again, this is crammed full of small reactors just to power the whole ship. Actually, it's kind of cool on the inside. But yeah, that's just how that turned out. Interesting, but maybe not so interesting to some people. So yeah, 16 small reactors were used to power that additionally. And can you please stop doing that? Can someone please explain why this happens? Anyway, moving on last to the Nova here. So this is the ship that has the turrets on the side here. Not only does it have the turrets, but it also has an additional 2 Gatling guns, which you see on the top and bottom here of the cockpit. Now this allows its firepower to be quite extreme and quite capable at taking down targets. especially when it comes to, well, it comes to disabling them, not so much blowing them up or destroying them. So I guess it's quite capable of taking out a target in such a way where it leaves them alive, if you really wanted them alive. But let's just shoot a gun at this anyway. I feel kind of sorry for the ship, but it is what it is anyway. And you can see it kind of just chews through this armor really quite quickly. And if you hit the reactor, well, yeah, that happens. That's and hit a rock. There we go. I do like occasionally breaking my own ships because it's fun. And there it hits the rock again, and it's crumpling down all the way down to the bottom. There you go. So that was only like a few seconds of concentrated fire on the ship there, and I was able to quite easily take this out. Now, that being said, the Tau is a light armored vessel, meaning getting through the armor necessarily isn't a hard thing, but it's still proof of the firepower that this thing is quite capable of unleashing, especially on foes. Now, I could have used the turrets. Admittedly, that was just using the Gatling guns, by the way, so I could have used the turrets, but that would have taken a little while to set up, and I really couldn't be bothered doing that. But yeah, so this is the Nova here. Again, not so different to the others, minus the fact that it has the 2 turrets on top and the extra guns, but I thought I'd show this off to you guys anyway. And actually, something you guys might not have noticed, and if I slow it down this here real quick, the ship here actually is purple. No one really noticed that, at least maybe if you look at the pictures on the workshop, you might see that. But yeah, it's a purpley black color, and I quite like how this turned out. A lot of people thought it was black, and you know, that's obviously understandable, especially when you look at it from a distance. But I don't know. I like the purple. Oh my god, it's doing it again. I like the purple nature of it anyway. But moving on to the last thing I want to show you guys today, and that is basically it for the Amari series ships. Hopefully you guys like that section of it. But I want to show you guys this last ship over here, which is a bit of a weird one, as this hasn't been released in any way at all. This was actually something I was working on after the cinematics, so in the last few days. I'm just not too happy with how this turned out. I don't know how I feel about it, so I thought I might as well show this off to you guys as well. So yeah, right now this ship isn't named in any way. It basically was made as a kind of replacement for these, because obviously the Amari ships aren't that good when it comes to outer space, especially in survival because of the fact that they rely only on hydrogen, which can quite easily run out. So I've decided to try and go back to that idea of a interplanetary ship and make one that could actually be capable in space, at least getting around the place anyway when it comes to slight maneuvers. It isn't the fastest ship in the world, obviously, but it is quite capable. And there's actually a lot of stuff crammed inside the ship that you might not expect. So just on the outside here, you guys can quite easily see that it has 4 Gatling guns for defensive reasons, or attacking reasons, depending on how you fly. Haha. It has 2 batteries that you can see on the outside here. It has 2 atmospheric acceleration thrusters, a hydrogen thruster, and it has quite a few both ion thrusters and atmospheric thrusters on the side here. The only hydrogen capability this ship has is the hydrogen thruster on the side here. Now you might be wondering, where's the tank, Brad? Doesn't have any tanks inside of it. Yes, it doesn't have any tanks. It actually relies on 3 oxygen generators, which, if you do the math, 2.5 oxygen generators are required to keep one of these at a constant thrust level. So if we go inside here, I can actually show you guys the internal, hopefully, in such a way that will actually kind of show off this ship well enough. So here we have one of them. So it has one of those. It has a medium container, which you can see in the middle right here, and I can hopefully turn my light on and show that off a little bit better as well. But on the sides over here, you have another 2 oxygen generators. So in total it has, let's go through this. In total it has 2 batteries, 3 oxygen generators, 1 medium container. It has 2 batteries. I already said that. I don't know why I said that twice. Quite a few small reactors. And actually, I can just get inside the ship here and just kind of relay exactly how much this ship does have. So it has, again, the Gatling guns, the gyroscopes, which are kind of expected, medium container, 3 generators, 2 oxygen tanks, which I forgot to mention, and it also has the 10 small reactors and the small thrusters and such as well. So for such a small design, I quite like how much I was able to cram inside this thing. So let's turn this on and take this thing out for a little bit of a flight, like so. So there we go, we can turn everything on, and you can see the atmospheric kicking in as well, so we'll turn on the dampeners here so you can see them. Now, surprisingly, this is actually quite good at strafing when it comes to atmosphere, because it has so many side thrusters here that it's actually quite effective. Now, flying forward isn't too bad either, and you can turn on the hydrogen if you really want to go faster, but again, this can go into outer space, which we might as well do for the end of the video anyway. So we're going to fly up here and go into space with this thing. Now, again, this isn't named in any way. I don't know if I'll ever release this. There is a few more of them in outer space, which they look a little weird, but I don't know. Maybe I'll do a video on these, maybe I won't. it was more so like a kind of a concept idea that I was trying to figure out how exactly to make a ship both function in atmosphere and in space quite effective. Which I think the ship isn't too bad in any way. It's just I don't like how it really looks. It looks a bit weird. But I don't know. Maybe you guys like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But anyway, we're about to reach the limit here of this ship before the gravity starts to before the atmospheric thrusters die down, which they have done now. And as you can see, the ion kick in. And then the hydrogen should also kick in as well. And I don't know what happened to my speech at the end of that sentence then, but there we go. So now we should be able to drift into space the way it is. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video anyways. Let me know if you guys want to see this ship on the workshop or something, and I'll probably release it in maybe a day or so depending on the feedback. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Stay awesome everyone.